Chromosomes. Little strands of nucleic acids and proteins are the fundamental genetic instructions that tell us who we are at birth. Most people are born with 46 chromosomes, but each year in the United States, about 6,000 people are born with an extra chromosome, making them a person with Down syndrome. If you've ever encountered someone with Down syndrome, you know that they are some of the kindest, most joyful people you will ever meet. They truly have something extra. My name is Lisa Nichols, and I have spent the last 24 years as both the CEO of Technology Partners and as the mother to Allie. Allie has something extra in every sense of the word. I have been blessed to be by her side as she impacts everyone she meets. Through these two important roles as CEO and mother to Allie, I have witnessed countless life lessons that have fundamentally changed the way I look at the world. While you may not have an extra chromosome, every leader has something extra that defines who you are. Join me as I explore the something extra in leaders from all walks of life and discover how that difference in each of them has made a difference in their companies, their families, their communities, and in themselves. On today's show, we welcome Dan Robert. Dan is an author, the CEO of Ouellette Associates, and the founder of HR to IT. Dan, I am so thrilled to have you with me here today. We've spent a lot of time together, and just every time I'm with you, I've come away a better person. Every time I'm with you, because I learn so much from you. So I am so excited to share who you are with our listening audience today. So thank you so much for making the time to be here.
Very kind of you to say, Lisa, and it's awesome to be here. I've listened to a bunch of these podcasts, and I'm still wondering why you invited me, but I'm honored, and I've enjoyed our time together, and love your energy. Love the energy you bring to everything you do, Lisa.
I feel the same way. So we've got a lot to discuss today. So talk to us a little bit about how you grew up.
Yeah, small town guy, New Hampshire, live free or die, right? And had great parents. We were, I would say, probably blue-collar type family, hard-driving dad, so learned a lot from him in terms of work ethic, which I appreciate every day. Had an amazing mom who was opposite extreme, very kind, gentle, caring, listening kind of a person. So I was very blessed, very fortunate, in my upbringing.
Well, so you are the CEO for Ouellette Associates, and you've been doing this for a really long time, but you're not that old.
That's right. That's right.
Talk to us a little bit about that journey. How did Ouellette come into your, what you're doing today?
Yeah, so Ouellette Associates, 35-year-old company, and was founded by a very visionary gentleman, Paul Ouellette, and had this vision to develop the human side of technology. Right, so you think about this 80s, that didn't make any sense at all, and we're very, very fortunate today to be in that sweet spot where technology and human capital are coming together, and that's the sweet spot today around the globe, and so we're very fortunate to be in that sweet space today. So I have a phenomenal team, New Hampshire, Seattle, and all over the country, and we're out working with Fortune 500 companies to help them really transform IT, transform their companies, really move IT up that maturity curve to deliver more strategic value.
And to that point, you've done some research, right, with Babson. I love your IT maturity curve that you've put together. And, there's several steps there. And you guys really do help them go from, they need to all be at 3.5.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's a 4-point scale. And people have seen these from different sources. But this research was fascinating. 130 CIOs around the country, different industries. And what we found was that historically, it was more of a defensive play. IT was being told, move up the value curve or we're going to outsource you. Today, it's more offensive. Our boards and our C-suite peers are saying, IT, we need you delivering value as a strategic partner and what we call the innovative anticipator, stage 4, because with so much disruption, we need you looking out around the corner and coming back with ideas on how to orchestrate a new customer experience, how to drive new revenue, how to defend against disruption, how to be offensive in being a disruptor. So we know the stories of the playing field of all those amazing companies that are no longer with us because they missed those turns. And so the IT, the technology leaders had that opportunity to really become business drivers as what we call the innovative anticipator.
And I know you've got lots of stories about companies that you have worked with that are truly driving the top line. I mean, they're driving new revenue for the company. It's not just keeping the lights on anymore.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I would say, I'm feeling really generous today. Maybe 20% of corporate technology leaders are really moving beyond their comfort zone of keeping the lights on and business as usual. And they're really elevating their game and they're elevating their team, and really building that muscle in their organization so they can show up and be influential. They're becoming trusted advisors. They're being looked at to be in the first meeting of every new initiative, to help be that business driver first and a technologist second. And you're starting to see company IT groups rebranding and calling themselves technology, not IT, but technology. So yeah, big shifts out there, and it's a very dynamic time. I say in the beginning of one of my books, Unleashing the Power of IT, I say there's never been a better time to be in the IT profession. And some people think that's crazy because of the pace and the complexity and the speed of change. And, we're asking people to do things differently, almost on a nonstop basis. But when you build that muscle in the organization, when you build those new skills, when you have a learning agility type culture, when you as an individual realize I need to be learning every single day, it changes the equation, right? And it does become never to be a better time to be in our profession. So yeah, but if you want to stay in your technical comfort zone of 5-10 years ago, you're toast. Half-life of a skill today, Lisa, 18 months. You're seeing a big shift in hiring. We used to hire for a ready now workforce. I need you ready now to go do X. Now it's a shift to a ready, able workforce because I know in 2 to 3 years, I need you to do other things, new things. So whole different mindset, whole different mantra.
Right. And as I think about that, what Ouellette is doing, it's not necessarily IT specific skills. A company can send their people to a Python class. It is really what some people would refer to as soft skills, but truly the way you refer to them, Dan, is they are core skills. These are core skills. Can you talk a little bit about those competencies? You guys compiled a list of competencies.
Yeah. If you remember that maturity curve I talked about earlier, the stage 3 and stage 4 organizations, those that are really high performing, world class, we just went back to that subset. We wanted to figure out, Lisa, what are they doing different? What's special about them? And we weren't looking for anything particular, but we did find it was a set of core competencies that they were locked in on as they are thinking about building the muscle of their current organization, but as they're hiring their next generation of workers. And so it's technology, expertise, digital fluency, certainly one of 14, though. It's not 14 of 14, it's one.
Right.
It's things like we need to be really good at business acumen. We've got to show up as business people. We need to be influential. We need to be able to influence the decision-making, the conversation. Great IT leaders will call the baby ugly when it's a bad idea, right? We haven't done a good job at that in the past.
Right.
We're change leaders. We're able to be more agile. We're able to be innovative. We bring leadership, whole different way of thinking, a whole different way of showing up, and definitely a new skill set.
Yeah, so interesting one. And we'll maybe put some of that information even in our show notes so that, if companies want to dive deeper, they can certainly do that. So talk to me a little bit, because I know you interview CIOs all over the country, and not just here in St. Louis, but all over the country. You have relationships. What do you believe, Dan, is the secret sauce that you see in the best leaders? And I think you call it the 7 C's, and I would love for you to dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. One of your earlier shows, Jack Lanham,
yes,
he had 7 C's of trust. So,
right.
But our C's are very different, actually. So, Jack had some really great insights from his interview. What I've seen over 3.5 decades, Lisa, in this business, every generation there's a hype cycle. Every generation there's the buzzwords, right? There's the things that are going on that are hot and timely, supposedly. But the best leaders, I find, cut through the noise. And consistently, I find they focus on the 7 C's. And I've tested this with dozens of CIOs and business leaders, and they've said, that's exactly what we're going to do today. So just very quickly, at the heart, it's customer centricity. And every business leader, technology leader worth their salt starts there, right? Know your customer. Amazon, their leadership principle number 1 is customer obsession. Everything flows from that. Everything flows from that. Number 2, culture. Build that culture. Build that culture of learning, right? That's a big part of this journey. And along with that is cultivate. So how do we cultivate? It's all about talent. How do we know and grow our people? How do we engage and retain? How do we build that brand where we attract the best people? Big deal. You and I talk a lot about that, Lisa, offline. So I would say the next one would be courage. Business and IT is a tough business.
Yes, it is.
And it takes leadership courage. And it does taking a whole new mindset to know how to make bets today. And if we don't take some risks today, make some bets today, we're going to be the next blockbuster, right? Not to be overly dramatic.
Right.
Another one is change. We've talked already about change. We have to be very good at leading change. We've got to take our people through the resistance and the cynicism that's out there and take them on this journey. We need to take our companies and our business leaders and take them on this journey. It's all about leading change, getting people comfortable with change. Everything that's happening today is changing so fast, right? So having that muscle. And then the last couple would be around communication. So how do we become better at communicating our message, communicating a vision? Ted Colbert, phenomenal business leader. He's the CIO of Boeing. And his quote, one of my favorite quotes of Ted, if you don't like the narrative, change the narrative, right? I just think it's just so well spoken. Lisa, today in this world, we get exposed to about 10,000 messages a day. Just think about that.
That's mind-blowing.
Right? We have the ability to retain and remember about 12. So talk about putting an exclamation point on the need to be better communicators. Average adult attention span today, 8.25 seconds. So we're trying to communicate in this busy world, things are moving fast, clutter, noise, right? So how to cut through that. The last of the 7 C's is collaborate. And we've got to think about collaboration as a technology organization. Our only chance of being successful is to do it as one team. And you hear that mantra a lot. And you're even seeing it now extended externally outside of our companies. You're hearing about ecosystems, right? Strategic partnerships and ecosystems, broader collaboration. I would say there's probably, I call it a bonus C, probably underlines all of these, but it's curiosity. And I have some CIOs that are kind of critical of me, and they're like, why is that a bonus? Because if we don't have intellectual curiosity, if we don't have that curious learning mindset as individuals, as organizations, we're toast. But I hope that's helpful. But those are wonderful. AI and ML and blockchain and disruption and transformation, all these things. That's just the language du jour of this era. I mean, 5 years ago, 15, 35 years ago when I started, there was a different language, but these best leaders cut through all that.
Right, and that's foundational, and that doesn't change, right? The buzzwords may change, but those foundations like collaboration and communication, all of those things don't change. There's so much packed in there. There is. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Dan Roberts. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to take a second and tell you about something our team at Technology Partners can do for your business. We have spent over 2 decades partnering with organizations and helping them solve their IT needs from a 360-degree perspective. A huge part of how we solve those needs is by developing custom applications of all shapes and sizes. If your team is looking for software and an out-of-the-box solution just isn't right, it's time to consider how we might be able to help. Go to tpi.co/custom apps and learn more about our awesome capabilities. Well, welcome back. Dan, let's talk about this. You and I have talked a lot about this, but you are seeing such an importance of HR and IT coming in alignment with one another. And there are even companies out there that have HR IT business partners and how important that is. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a really good point. And, this goes back to the talent Achilles, right? And that human capital management. And so what we're seeing, Lisa, is that HR still, in many cases, has the mindset of, why would I want to get assigned to IT? That's the short straw, right? Where actually, It's the long straw. It's where the action is today. It's where the company is actually having the biggest impacts. So we've actually seen such a gap there that we started last year an entirely new community called HR2IT. So the number 2, HR2IT, specifically for that individual in every Fortune 500 corporation and smaller who faces off to their CIO and the IT leadership team. We think it's such a vital, valuable role. In fact, I'm writing some different articles for CIO.com under a blog called CIO Whisperers. And I'm writing this series talking about the 3 unsung heroes for the CIO. This HR business partner is one of them. It's become so valuable. And it's interesting because they're trying to show up at a high value in delivering for the CIO and really helping the CIO accelerate up that maturity curve. But they don't quite get all this that's going on in IT. And then IT doesn't quite get how do I leverage, right? How do I leverage HR? So this community is really to bring this together, this peer group, and to help them elevate their game, elevate their profession, and really their prominence and the value they can have. Because if HR is impacting IT and IT is impacting the company, you get a pretty straight line there, right? So that would certainly be one of those 3 unsung heroes.
Yeah, and you saw that there was a clear gap here.
Clearly, yeah.
And so that's very entrepreneurial.
Well, that's what we do,
You see
right?
a gap and you say, okay, how can we solve this challenge? So that's great. So who are the other 2 unsung heroes?
Yeah, the other 2 may be surprising, maybe not, but the other one, and this goes back to one of the C's, it's around communication. And so some CIOs are fortunate to have an IT communications leader as part of their team or assigned to their team. Some have actually built entire groups because this whole messaging has become so vitally important. One of the themes we see, Lisa, is with communication today, internal becomes external, external becomes internal, right? And so getting the CIO positioned in the right industry conference, the right magazine, earning the right awards for the company, that drives a tremendous pride in the organization and makes us realize, our company is doing amazing things. And so sometimes that external is more important than the internal. I had a CIO recently tell me, she said, Dan, the best way for me to keep a secret in this company, if I send an email to everybody. Right?
And so that the truth?
Cutting through that noise, cutting through that clutter. And so that's 2. And then the third one, and you and I have seen this, Lisa, with the best CIOs, the chief of staff. The chief of staff is no longer what we think of as that administrative role. It's becoming a strategic role. It's developing one of my leaders, giving them exposure they would never get, helping them build relationships. They become a proxy for the CIO because the CIO is triple booked almost all day long. They are running some projects that the CIO can't get to. They're doing a lot of important work, and then 18 months later we spin them out and they become one of our key leaders,
VPs or whatever.
Exactly.
In the organization.
So I'd say those are your unsung heroes that we need to really start paying attention to, investing in, and being more intentional with.
Well, we got so much to talk about here. We could just go on, but you just recently wrote a book, The Confessions of a CIO. Everyone should go out and get it. You got some tremendous insights when you wrote this book, and just maybe touch on a few of those, if you would, Dan.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give a shout out to my co-author, Brian Watson, and he just convinced me to do another edition of that book. And so what we're doing is we want to write about leadership in a way that helps the next generation elevate their game faster, not make the same mistakes, and how best to do that other than go out and talk to the best leaders. And so we did that. We were very fortunate, and all but one that we originally approached said yes, and the one that said no was because her company just didn't allow that. And so we wrote some amazing stories, and what was interesting, Lisa, is we went back. Each chapter has its own personality about these CIOs, how they make decisions, how they failed and recovered, and they just made it pretty raw and real. We saw themes that cut across the different chapters, and some of my favorites would be answer the call. Every one of them had an answer the call moment, right? That big call came, and it's usually, I need you to move cross country to take the global CIO role. I need an answer in 24 hours. I know you have a family, but it's those kinds of things.
Right.
And big call. But as we dug deeper, Brian and I dug deeper, we found that it's actually, before that, it's positioning yourself to get the call and preparing yourself.
The preparedness, right?
And it doesn't just happen. People think it's, well, I just got lucky, I got the call. No. There's a lot behind it. So that's one of them. Another one of my favorite is, You get the people right, you get the technology right. And so many organizations do it backwards. My good dear friend, Barbara Cooper, she's a Hall of Fame CIO, Toyota, amazing, amazing person. That's one of my favorite Barbara-isms. And she's like, you get the people right, you get the technology right. Another one is humility. These folks are humble. And you see that, some people are very prideful in their humility. You know what I mean?
Right.
But these folks are genuine. And it comes through in terms of their self-awareness, in terms of their asking questions to learn. Some of them talked about daily 30 minutes learning every day discipline. And that's the mark of humility, right? It's people talking in terms of when things go well, it's giving credit to others. And when things aren't going so well, they put it on me. And that's amazing.
That's a good leader.
Our good friend, Don Imholtz,
we
introduced
both love
us
Don.
Years ago. And Don always led like that. And one of my other favorite Don-isms goes something like this. And apologies, Don, if I don't get it exactly right. But he would always coach his people on projects and initiatives. And if things started going off the tracks, he said, if you come to me early, I can be your coach. If you come to me late, I can only be the judge.
Right.
And,
that is such wisdom there.
Isn't it?
It's so true.
Isn't
yes.
it? But we're just so fortunate, Lisa, to be able to spend time with these people and to understand how they think, how they lead, how they make decisions. One of the other ones is you got to make the call. You don't have enough data today like you did in the past. You might have 70% of the data you need to make a decision. You've got to go. And sometimes it's a bet the farm kind of a decision.
Yeah.
But it goes back to C number 1, customer centricity. When you are intimately knowledgeable of, aware of, in tune with your customer, you have a much better ability to make those calls, make the bets. And
it is so true. I always say, if you want to know where you need to go as an organization, listen to your customer because they will let you know. They will tell you. So
don't overcomplicate it, right?
Yes, right.
I remind myself every day, I'm not a hockey person, but Wayne Gretzky has the quote, I missed every shot I didn't take. And we all have that voice in our head that will have 10 reasons why not to make the call, why not to make the shot, to take the shot. And, I remind myself almost on a daily basis, got to take the shot.
Yes, for sure. Well, we've got a couple more things to talk about here. This is something extra. So talk to us about what you believe the something extra is that every leader needs.
First, let me just say that I know this is dedicated to Allie, your daughter Allie, and what an inspiring young lady. Thank you for her. What a
you've got to watch her journey a little bit, haven't you?
What a gift. So thinking about Allie and just this journey we're all on, I would say a lot of things, but 2 + 1. So I would say a couple things just we've talked about, curiosity and anticipate, right? I think that is really separating leaders and people today. It's having that desire to turn every rock over, to be learning, to be curious. And when you build that muscle, that ability to anticipate, to look around the corner, use your secret sauce, whatever it is that you bring to the table, and anticipate. I think those are really big. But, I think if I had to boil it down to one, Lisa, and this goes back maybe to my roots, maybe, some would call it servant leadership, probably more popular term, but I call it having a net giver mindset.
Ah, I love that.
And I can point back in my career in my 30s, that was a long time ago, but I can point back to my point in my career during a recession where I just flipped the switch and people were hurting, people needed help, people need someone just to listen to them and know that, hey, you got a story, go out and tell it, let's help you with this. But being a net giver is somebody that is willing to say, how can I help you? Without any expectation of reciprocity. And also, when maybe there are times when you do get burned a little bit with that. It's going to happen,
right?
But not getting jaded, staying the course and having that net giver mindset.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's the right thing to do, but here's the thing. When you do give like that, you get so much more back. You really do. It just feeds your soul when you know that you're helping someone else.
Absolutely.
So
you get it back tenfold,
absolutely.
But don't expect it.
Right. Don't expect it. Right. And don't ever do it because of that. Right.
Right. And I love that about you, Lisa. As you and I are traveling and meeting people and I introduce you to new people, it's like you're all about what can I do to help you be successful? I love that.
Very good. Well, I want to give you the opportunity because I think you have a few really exciting things getting ready to happen. And I want to give you the opportunity to talk about those.
It's an exciting time in our profession. And I'm so excited about a partnership that we have going on, rolling out this IT leadership development program. The CIOs of the St. Louis community and other cities are realizing technology is the engine, and if we don't have the leadership pipeline, it's not going to happen.
And like you said, it will run out of gas. The engine runs out of gas.
You know it.
Yes.
So really taking people through from multiple companies together through a cohort-based program and really bringing world-class leadership development to St. Louis, fostering a better peer network. IT people are terrible at networking until they know how to do networking. So learning from their peers, learning from each other. And then, as you know, Lisa, one of the secret sauces of this is the mentoring program.
That's right.
So many people in this community are stepping up and saying, yeah, I want to give back. I want to mentor that next generation. And the mentors are getting as much value as the mentees.
Yes, we're hearing that a lot, right?
Exactly.
Yes, and so there'll be a reverse mentoring component to this thing. So we're launching our first cohort on June the 10th. We're excited to talk more about it, and you'll be seeing more on this as well. Well, Dan, thank you so much for being here. This has just been such a joy. So safe travels back to New Hampshire later on today, and thank you for listening.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
Our show today is executive produced by Brian Muncie. Our technical producer is Daniel Williams. Something Extra with Lisa Nichols is a Technology Partners production. Copyright Technology Partners, Inc., 2019. For show notes or to reach out to Lisa, visit tpi.co/podcast. Don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you listen.